I come in Wednesday morning. On my desk, there's 2 notes. Eric Rett was supposed to be at an autograph session. He was 45 minutes late. Reagan Upshaw was visiting an elementary school, was supposed to be there, didn't show up. I've got this on my desk. I go into the team meeting room and I put those 2 notes on the overhead projector. And I said, you know what? This is our problem. We're not accountable. We're not reliable. I don't know how to fix that. Only you guys can fix it. And I'm not going to talk about the Oakland Raiders. We're not going to talk about game plan, formations, tackles, defenses. You guys fix this. I was a little louder than that, and I left the room. And to this day, a lot of those Buccaneers say that's the only time Coach ever blew up on us.
Our very first guest on Coach to Coach is Super Bowl champion Tony Dungy. Hey, let's get right to it. 1996. You get an opportunity to go be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that had been in the NFL for 20 years, made the playoffs 3 times. They'd won 30% of their games. It was not a successful franchise by any stretch of the imagination. What were you thinking about when you went down there trying to build the team in Tampa?
Well, I was excited. I did know that I only got the job because Jimmy Johnson and Steve Spurrier turned it down. So, but I felt like we played against them. I was coaching the Minnesota Vikings. So we played them twice a year. And I saw talented players and guys who I knew could do the job, but I wasn't sure why they weren't winning. And I'd heard all the things from other people, this is going on, that's going on, ownership, everything. But I looked at it as a challenge, and I wanted to establish a winning culture. That was my idea. I said, there's talent there. If we can put it together and get people thinking together, I think we can win. And it was fun. It was not easy, but it was fun.
You know, you were part of one of the greatest teams, I think, in the history of the NFL in Pittsburgh. When you're thinking about winning culture in Tampa, is that what's going through your mind, trying to recreate that?
Exactly. I got to Pittsburgh, and it was the middle of the 70s, the Dynasty era. They had won 2 Super Bowls already. And our coach, Chuck Noll, just talked so much about attitude and togetherness and winning. And he used to say, champions don't do extraordinary things. Champions do the ordinary things better than everyone else. And you win with fundamentals. You do things right all the time, and that's how you win. And I guess I was naive enough to believe that. I didn't realize we had 12 Hall of Fame guys on the team and all this talent, but it was just everybody coming in, doing their job day in, day out. And the older guys, when I got there, they looked at me like I had an important job. I was a scout team guy, giving the looks on defense. I was filling in wherever I could, trying to hustle on special teams, but they made me feel like that was important, like I was part of the team. And that's what I took away from that. And of course, Jason, when I got there and we made the team, Mr. Rooney, our owner, our Rooney Sr., tremendous man. Every rookie, once you got announced on the team, he'd bring you into his office, sit you down and say, hey, congratulations. You're going to love being here. We've got a great atmosphere. We've got a phenomenal city, great fans. They're going to be waving towels, calling your name, buying your jerseys, but you can't just take it in. And I'll never forget this. It's 50 years ago, but it's coming to me. And he said, you've got to be part of the city. You got to be part of the community. We want you to move here. Make Pittsburgh a better place to live. Don't just win games on Sunday for us. You're representing our family. You're representing the fans. And every young guy, when you made the team, that's how you felt. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Rooneys. It's the city. Let's go. And that's what I wanted to create in Tampa. Hey, we want to make the city a better place. We want you guys to be role models. I had 3 young kids at the time, and I told every one of my players, my kids look up to you, and I want them to look up to you. So we're going to win, but we're going to win the right way. And you guys you're going to be the role models for Tampa. And I think the guys, they got energy from that, and they wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing how that leadership starts at the top. You know, it's so funny. I chuckled to myself when you started mentioning Coach Noll's quote, because I was the head coach of the Cowboys for 9 years, and we had a Chuck Noll quote on our wall during that time, which is like sacrilege, right? I mean, I'm with the Cowboys, but it came from Rod Marinelli, who was with you, and we talked about it all the time. The best teams do the big, basic, fundamental things better than everybody else. And literally, we had Chuck Noll on our wall, and because you guys represented that, and that's what we really strive for.
Jason, I can tell you, you'd get a kick out of this. My first practice with the Steelers, they've won 2 Super Bowls. So we come in and we do our stretching, and Coach Noll calls everybody up, line up, defense on one side, offense on the other side. Okay, it's block and tackle by the numbers. Number one is your stance. He put every guy on the team in their stance, and he looked at their stance, and so here's Joe Green, 2-time defensive player of the year. And he said, no, Joe, your foot's just a little bit off here. You need to be this way. And I'm looking at myself. He's telling Joe Green how to stand after 10 years in the league.
Yeah.
But I was with him for 10 years. Every year started with block and tackle by the numbers. 1 was your stance, 2, approach, 3, contact, 4, follow through. He walked every guy through that 45 minutes, first practice for 29 years. And that taught me something.
Yeah.
That's football. That's how you build things. It's not, we all know what to do and we're coaching pros. No, we're going to start at the basics and go.
Yeah. People talk about fundamentals and the importance of them. How many live it? There's the great John Wooden story. When John Wooden's coaching at UCLA, they're winning all those championships. And every year, the first practice, he would sit the team in the bleachers. Al Sindor, Bill Walton, the greatest players ever to walk. And he would teach them how to put their socks on. Right? Go back to the beginning. Here's how you put it in, the stitching over the top, roll it up. We don't want blisters. How to tie their shoes, And to me, it was so symbolic of that same approach. We're getting back to the basics.
And 25 years later, when I became the head coach, that was my approach. I come to Tampa. I don't know why you guys haven't won, but we're going to win with fundamentals. We're not going to outsmart people. I don't know that many things. We're not going to have these fancy formations and different defense. We're going to run 2 defenses, and we're going to run about 8 plays, and we're going to execute. And you got to believe that. And we did that. The other thing, though, Jason, that Coach Noll impressed on me, the very first thing he told us when we got there, our first rookie minicamp, he said, men, welcome to the National Football League. You're now getting paid to play football. It's your profession. Treat it like that, but don't make football your whole life. If you make football your whole life, you're going to leave the game disappointed. Now, I'm writing that down as a 21-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
And then he gets to that, don't make football your whole. But he lived that out for us.
Yeah.
He was a family man to a T. He did things in the community. He had his son around all the time. We had Saturday practice where all the kids were invited. I was single at the time, but all my teammates had their boys and girls there on Saturday morning. And the team is important, and tomorrow's important, but it's not more important than your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a great lesson for me to get as a young player and then as a young coach.
Yeah. It's a fine line because you want guys who are completely committed. You want it to be so important to them. But oftentimes it gets to a point where, my value as a person is being based on how this practice went, how this game went. If I threw an interception or missed a tackle, all of a sudden I don't value myself as much, and maybe conversely value yourself too much if you do those things.
Yeah.
And that gets people out of whack, right?
Yeah. And he did. I mean, we practiced hard, we performed, we played hard, but he said, as much as you put into this game, and we want to put in a lot, we want to win Super Bowls, but as much as you put into it, you've got to put the same amount of time, if not more, into your family and your neighborhood and where you live. And that was a great lesson for me. And I saw him not only say it, Jason, but live it out.
Yeah.
Live it out. And I was so glad I started with him. That was just a blessing to start with him my first 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this as we're talking because, you show up there in 96, you had a lot of football experiences between your time as a Steeler and your time in Tampa. But it's amazing when you're part of those championship teams and those amazing people that you say, hey, I go back to that when I'm thinking about what a winning culture looks like.
Yeah. And I took a lot. I played and coached for some great people.
Sure. No doubt.
I left Pittsburgh and I went to San Francisco, Bill Walsh's first year. And I saw him rock solid, even when we were 2-14. I'm not changing what I do. I believe in it. We're going to stick with this. Then I go to Kansas City, and Marty Schottenheimer, meticulous, thorough guy, no stone unturned, on top of the details. Then I go to Minnesota, and it's Denny Green, and again, energy, togetherness, unity. And I got something from all of those guys. But when I really wanted to build it, what's the foundation? It's Coach Noel. And those guys must have got sick of me quoting Chuck Noel because it was all, hey, this is how we win. This is how we're going to do it. Fundamentals, doing the little things right. If it's hard, it's supposed to be hard. If it's easy, we'd have 80,000 people doing it and 47 people watching.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over again. But they bought into it, and slowly we did change that culture from a me. So many guys, when I got there, oh, we're not going to win, so I better put up the best stats I can. That's how I get paid. And no, if we win, everybody makes out, everybody does well. Let's focus on winning. And that was super important. I'll never forget Derek Brooks in my first meeting. I talked about these little details, how we're going to do it, culture, being role models and everything. He said, Coach, do you realize I lost more games my rookie year last year than I lost in my whole life? We got to win.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly right.
we're going to win, Derek, but this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And once he bought in, he became the leader, and everybody followed because Derek Brooks bought into what Coach said.
Yeah, it's so funny, playing with the Cowboys in the 90s, Jimmy Johnson's our coach. And as you were talking, in my mind, I'm hearing him say, when we win, there'll be spoils for everybody.
Yeah.
If you're a coordinator, you're going to be a head coach. If you're an assistant coach, you'll be a coordinator. If you're, a starting player, you're going to be a Pro Bowler, and on and on and on. And he said, when you're part of these championship teams, it lasts for a lifetime. You have these bonds, you connected with these people, and then you have the lessons to learn. And I was fortunate for those experiences, and it sounds like you feel the same way.
I really was. I came to a team that just they were focused on winning, and we had some great players. The one year we go to the Super Bowl, Lynn Swann caught 33 passes, and he's not even concerned. I could go somewhere else and catch 70 or whatever, but we're trying to win, and we are winning.
Yeah.
When we get to that big moment, they need me. I'm going to catch the ball. I'm going to do it. But I don't care about stats. I don't care about any of that. Let's win. And I saw some of you guys demonstrate that. And then you come to a place where people are thinking, well, I better get mine because that's the only way I'm going to make it through. So how do I create that? And how do I show them? So I had guys come in. I had Mel Blanc come in and talk to my guys about winning. Yes. And how you establish that, because Mel came early on when it was tough in Pittsburgh, and then saw how it transformed. And I wanted him to share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, there got to be some growing pains though early on, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a light switch. What were some of the stories where maybe you had a little frustration creep in? Like, is everybody buying into this?
I guess I'm somewhat famous for not losing my temper and blowing my top and screaming and yelling. But the one time I did go off, Jason, we're 1-8, and we are really struggling, coming close, but just not getting the job done. So we're getting ready to play the Oakland Raiders, and I come in on Wednesday morning. Tuesday's been the players' off day, and we had a lot of players doing community service on their off day. I talked about it, and we did have a lot of guys buying into it. But I come in Wednesday morning, on my desk, there's 2 notes. Eric Rett was supposed to be at an autograph session. He was 45 minutes late. Reagan Upshaw was visiting an elementary school, was supposed to be there, didn't show up. I've got this on my desk. I go into the team meeting room, and I put those 2 notes on the overhead projector. And I said, you know what? This is our problem. We're not accountable. We're not reliable. I don't know how to fix that. Only you guys can fix it. And I'm not going to talk about the Oakland Raiders. We're not going to talk about game plan, formations, tackles, defenses. You guys fix this. I was a little louder than that, and I left the room. And to this day, a lot of those Buccaneers say that's the only time coach ever blew up on us about guys missing appointments they were supposed to be at. Well, we end up winning that game in overtime. We gutted it out. We won. We turned it around. We won 5 of our last 7 games that year. And that was really, I
Wow.
always tease Eric and Reagan. I said, you guys were the key to the turnaround.
That's exactly right. It was a setup. That was awesome. I remember you telling me a story once where you came down in the locker room down there at One Buck Place, and the locker room was just an absolute mess. You by yourself were cleaning up the locker room, and that was kind of a moment for you that like, understanding where we are and what we need to do to go forward.
Yeah, it was actually Herm Edwards and I, and Herm was my assistant head coach, and he was a neat freak, and he's the one that summoned me. He called me after everybody was gone, and he said, come look at this," and he's over there sweeping and everything, and stuff is everywhere, and we've got bins, garbage bins, but tape on the floor and just
Yeah.
and so we cleaned it up. And then Herm actually was the bad cop. He read the riot act to him the next
Yeah.
day. But I talked about that. Man, are we going to be accountable? Are
Yeah.
we going to let somebody else do this? Or are we going to be the champions? Are we going to be at this level in everything? Not just how we play on the field, but how we do life. And are we going to be okay to be just average? Or do we want to be the best? Well, that means being the best in
Yeah.
everything. And I want this to be the best locker room. I want anybody to be able to come in here and say, this is the best locker room in the NFL. I've never seen a locker room like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
hold you guys to that standard?
Yeah.
And by that time, there were a lot of guys that said, yeah, okay, we want to be the best. And they policed it and they took it on themselves at that point.
That's awesome. How important was it to get a guy like Derek Brooks to buy in and be part of this thinking?
It really was. I actually was very, very blessed. 1995 draft, I was defensive coordinator of Minnesota. I had my eye on two guys in that draft, Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks. And Warren was supposed to be a top 3 player, but there was rumors he was going to slide because of some character issues. I would have said, if there's some way we can get this guy, put him with John Randall, will be fantastic. And then Derek Brooks is just perfect for this defense. So I'm focused on them. We pass on Sapp. The Bucks taking the next pick. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Not only do we not have him,
We
we're
got
going
to
to be
play
playing
against
against him the rest of our
him.
life. So, all right. Well, I forget that. I'm going to focus. We got one more number 1 pick at the end of the round. I'm focused on Derek Brooks. Tampa trades up 1 pick ahead of us and takes Brooks. And I am just sick. Well, as only God could do it, 8 months later, I'm the head coach of the Bucks, and
How
those
about
2
that?
guys are sitting there waiting for me. So I called them, the first 3 guys I called, Derek, Warren, and John Lynch, who was a 3rd-year safety man. And I said, you guys don't know it yet, but this defense is built for you. I played in this defense in Pittsburgh. Warren, you're Joe Green. You're going to have a Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame career because this defense is going to let you do what you do best. Derek, you're Jack Ham. You're going to roam behind the line of scrimmage. We're going to keep you free. We're going to use your speed, your knowledge. You're going to make plays for us all over the field. John, you're Donnie Shell. You're going to be an interceptor. You're going to be a tackler. You're going to be a physical force, and you're going to be the controller of the secondary. But you guys have to be on board with me, and I'm counting on you to lead. And I think telling them that I was
Yeah.
counting on them,
Yeah.
that's what got it going. And when they bought in and they said, okay, we're going to make this happen and we're on board with you, I knew we were going to be in good shape.
Yeah. It's a great story. It's interesting, though. You have those 3 guys, and I know each of them. And the personalities are different.
Very
Right?
different.
Yeah.
Very different. As a matter of fact.
You mentioned character issues. I mean,
Yeah.
Warren Sapp's one of the great characters we've ever met, right? And
Yes.
so how was it coaching those different guys and getting them to come together?
Really making the team first, and we've got to do this and we've got to be together. John was on board right away. Hey, I know he had played for Denny Green, so he knew where I was coming from. He was excited about it. Derek just wanted to win. You tell me what to win, coach, and we'll do it. Warren was a little bit of a different story, different guy. He wanted to be himself. Hey, I'm going to let you be yourself, but I need you to lead in the same way. We've got to be like this. When we've got to be matched up. If we are, we'll win a championship. If we're like this, you'll be great. We'll be okay, but we'll never get that championship until we come this way. And he looked at me and said, that's great, coach. You just tell me what you want me to do because I want to win a championship. And then he told me something I'll never forget. He said, you draw the line and I promise you I'll never cross it because I want to win the championship. I said, okay, I will do that. Then he said, but make sure you draw the line exactly where you want it because I'm going to be right on the line.
Hey, what were some of the things where he approached the line on that you had to kind of say, Warren, come into my office, let's have a conversation?
He always wanted to run through the other team's stretch lines and warm up and talk trash. And I said, I know that motivates you, Warren, but that's not the way we need to do it. We want to be that high class team, and we want to be the team that everybody looks at and says they're doing it the right way. He said, okay, I'll just run through the back of the line then, and I won't make too much noise. He always he wanted to be himself, and I had to find a comfort zone too. You can be yourself until we get to this point. If it becomes negative, then that's going to be different. But hey, you be you, and we're still going to be fine. But keep the focus on the team first, and he did that.
When did you feel like you go back into your office after a practice or a game? When did you feel like, we're on the right path here? I feel like we're getting close. I feel like we got a chance to pull this off.
We're 1-6, 1-7. Fans are grumbling. Those guys were practicing hard every day. They didn't let any of that bother them. It never came in, oh, we need to change this. We need to do something else. Hey, coach, what do we want to do? How are we going to get this going? And just their work ethic and their togetherness, even when we weren't winning early, that showed me that we're going to be close. That second half of that first year, we started winning some of those close games, and the feeling, the energy in the locker room. I think we were 3-9 or something, but we won a game, and you would have thought we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, hey, this is what it can be like all the time. We got to capture this feeling and do it week after week after week. But we had some hard workers. They were tremendous in practice, never took shortcuts, always did exactly what the coaches asked. And that was another thing, Jason. I came there and I knew it was going to be a long-term rebuild. So I wanted some young coaches and I wanted some teachers.
Yeah.
So I had a couple guys in mind. I'd known Herm Edwards. We played together in the Hula Bowl. I wanted Herm. Monty Kiffin, I knew. We'd worked together in Minnesota, and so I knew him. But I asked our scouts, I said, hey, in the college ranks, I don't get to go see these guys. Are there some guys out there who are good teachers, who are encouragers, who are enthusiastic, who are hard workers? And 3 or 4 names got recommended to me. Rod Marinelli, who you mentioned,
Yeah.
who I think is the greatest defensive line coach
Oh,
ever. I
awesome.
interviewed him, and again, in 5 minutes, yes, this is my guy. Oh, there's a linebacker coach at Ohio State named Lovie Smith, and he doesn't get a lot of credit. He's a soft-spoken guy, but man, is he tremendous. I called Lovie in, interviewed him, 5 minutes. Yeah, I want him on my staff. And getting those guys, those
Yeah.
young, enthusiastic teachers who just stayed the course and loved their guys and wanted to help their guys. That was again instrumental in us being successful.
Yeah, so critical to carrying the message, right? I mean, you're one
Yes.
voice, but you
Yeah.
got to get your people to
Yep.
make it come
Believe,
alive.
and they become that choir who's
Yeah.
energizing your voice. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned cover 2, Tampa 2. You're the architect, you and Monty. I often think about how similar was Tampa 2 that you were playing in the mid 90s down there to the cover 2 that you guys played in Pittsburgh? Is it the exact same defense?
It was stolen out of the 1977 playbook. I had my playbook there. We wrote it exactly that way. I went to Minnesota, and I didn't know anything about over and under up front. And I knew about cover 2. Monty Kiffin was there already, and he had done a great job in the run game with the fronts, and he had never played cover 2. So we get together. My first year as defensive coordinator, he teaches me the run fronts. I teach him the coverage, and we end up leading the NFL in defense with the Vikings. Now we've got Chris Dolman and John Randall and Henry Thomas and some really, really good players. But people hadn't seen that in about 15 years. So we have some success with it. Monty agrees to come with me to Tampa and put it in. And we put it in exactly like we put it in Minnesota, exactly like we played it in Pittsburgh. But now we've got John Lynch, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp. We draft Rondé Barber. We just have the right personnel, the right mentality with the right X's and O's.
Yeah. The signature piece for everybody is that deep Mike linebacker.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's Lambert in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And then you have some great ones in Minnesota and Tampa.
We put it in, and nobody played too deep. Everybody played 3 deep, so you had a middle safety protecting that middle of the field. Well, we played 2 deep. We had a great pass rush. People didn't have time. But what they started doing, well, you can't throw outside on that, so you've got to attack down the middle. So everybody starts drafting these tight ends that can get down the middle. Cleveland drafts Ozzie Newsome, and the Raiders draft Raymond Chester, and Russ Francis, and all these athletic guys who are going to get down the middle. So we start getting hit, and we say to our middle linebacker, Jack Lambert, if that number 2 tight end goes down the middle, you've got to go with him. So he's covering Ozzie Newsome 40 yards down the field, a big 6'5" frame. But again, nobody, I guess maybe they didn't have a Jack Lambert, so nobody did that for years until we got back to Minnesota. Well, now I get to Tampa, and we've got Hardy Nickerson, our captain, who played for me in Pittsburgh, knew the defense, understood what it was. He became that middle dropper, and everybody said, oh, this is Tampa, too. We've never seen a middle linebacker do this before. And Hardy and I would just laugh and say, well, you may not have seen it, but there has been a middle linebacker that did that before.
Isn't that funny? It's funny. I used to always make the argument that, you talk about Tampa 2 and the scheme and what's on the page and the responsibilities, but what made Tampa 2 great was how you guys played it. The speed, the get off, the pass rush, the sprint to the ball, the no loafs, all that stuff. That's really what the defense is.
That's what it was all about. And we told people it's not coverages, it's not X's and O's, it's how you do it. And I got to tell you a Rod Marinelli story that really started things off. We're playing the Minnesota Vikings, and Robert Smith is a Big Ten sprint champion, 100-meter champion.
Yeah.
He breaks a run around the left side. Warren Sapp from his defensive line position runs and catches him at the 10-yard line. And unbelievable. 300-pound guy catching the Big Ten sprint champion at the 10-yard line. We watched the film the next day. Rod Marinelli runs it back, says, Warren, that's a loaf. And Sapp gets up and says, I caught the fastest man in the NFL, and you calling it a loaf? How can you call it a loaf? And he runs the film back. He said, look at you right here. Now, watch you change. You changed speeds right there. You picked up speed.
Change your speeds.
If you'd have been running fast the whole way, you'd have caught him at the 15-yard line instead of the 10. That's a loaf. And Sapp looked at him and sat down, and he had no argument. And so that became the standard for our team, our defense. If you're ever seen on film changing speed, if you slow down, that's obviously a loaf. But if you speed up, that means you weren't going 100% at the beginning. So that's a loaf. That became our signature.
Yeah. Rod obviously was our defensive coordinator in Dallas. And, we had the sign on the wall. What is a loaf, right? Change of speed was one of the criteria. Yeah. It's great, though, because, you don't always win the games. But at the end of the day, when you coach that way and you play that way and your team responds that way, you can sleep well at night.
Yes.
Because you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. And even when we weren't winning, I knew it would come. And I was fortunate. I'd seen some of those. Coach Knoll told me about being 1-13 his first year, but putting that fundamental building blocks in. And we were 0-5, and Dick Vermeil called me. He was broadcasting at the time. And he said, I've seen a couple of your games. You're doing things right. Don't change what you're doing. Don't get discouraged. You're going to be okay. And that phone call, Jason, meant so much.
Yeah.
Because as you know, you can doubt yourself and
no doubt
get frustrated. And Coach Vermeil said, just hang in there. You're going to be fine. Man, that was really awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes when you go through those stretches as a head coach, there's some smarter than he should be reporter that's going to say, hey, do you know what the definition of insanity is? Einstein said it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I used to always think about, and you referenced him before, I used to always think about Bill Walsh going 2-14, running the West Coast offense. If he had said, well, clearly this doesn't work and scrapped it, history would be different. Right?
Yeah.
Chuck Knoll and so many other coaches, part of it is having conviction in what you're believing in, and you certainly adjust as you go. You have to make tweaks, but the core conviction of who you are, that can't change, right?
Can't change. And that's I was proud from one thing I was proud of, that was me 6 years in Tampa, 7 years in Indianapolis. We are going to be just what we talk about. We're not going to change. We're not going to do anything different. And so many of my players that were on that first team, they felt that was important. Coach, you didn't. You didn't get rattled. You didn't do anything different. We knew what we're going to be. Warren Sapp used to tease. He'd say, I'm the only guy in America that I can tell you exactly where I'm going to be a year from now on Thursday, 9 o'clock. It's not going to change. The schedule's not going to change. The routine's not going to change. We know what we're doing, and we believe in.
Yeah. Okay. So you turn it around in Tampa. It's one of the remarkable turnarounds, and you keep knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door, and you can't really break through to that next level and go win a Super Bowl down there. Were you ever tempted to say, "Oh, we need to tweak this somehow," or were you just, "Hey, persistent. I still believe this"?
Yeah, I believed. I felt we were close. We were on the right track. We lost the NFC Championship game 11-6 to the Rams. They had the greatest show on
Greatest
turf.
show on turf.
We go 55 minutes holding without a touchdown, and we're that close to winning this, to going and winning the game 6-5, and we don't get it done. The next year we lose to the Packers. Mike Holmgren had a great team with Brett Favre and Reggie White, and we lose to them, and we lose again to the Eagles and Andy Reid, and our ownership says, well, I mean, we're making the playoffs every year and we're doing well, but just not the guy that's going to get us over the hump. So we're going to make a change. And Jason, that was so tough because I felt like we were close. I'd grown so close to these players. Well, what are you going to do? And I just prayed about it and said, I don't know what you're trying to show me, Lord, but I know we're going in the right direction to see what happens. My phone rings and it's Jim Irsay, and he said, I love what you're doing there in Tampa. That's what I'm on in Indianapolis. And would you come coach my team? So I get to coach the Colts, and Peyton Manning's there. And man, it was a great 7 years.
Yeah, it's awesome. The winning there was incredible. So you go there after your experience in Tampa. Is it replicated, or were there some things you did differently when you got to Indy?
It was actually a little different and a little faster. My philosophy didn't change. Talked about being a team, being unified, being together, being good citizens and good role models. And this time it had a little bit more buy-in early because I had a track record now. I was just a young assistant coach at Tampa, and they were hoping it would work. But these guys had seen us, they'd played against us, and so they're buying in right away. And Peyton was tremendous too. I remember after my press conference, he actually came into my office and, hey, I want to be coached. I want to win. I want to be great. You tell me what to do and I'll do it for you. And this was refreshing to hear from your quarterback. And he took it that way. He led fantastically. We had some other great leaders on the team, and it happened very quickly in Indy.
A lot of coaches, they put a word on a T-shirt or on a sweatshirt. There's a sign on the wall. They talk about it all the time, whatever it is, compete or relentless or whatever it is, discipline. And they have great talking points. And if you're sitting in the room, you're really compelled by the whole thing. And then you put their tape on and it's not quite what they're saying, and especially in this day and age where there's so many coaches who see other coaches talk about these things. I think they craft their messages really well, but then it doesn't always show up on the tape. And for you, when I watch you through the years, certain message, simplicity, we're going to play a certain way, all of that. And you guys did. You guys did in Tampa and you did in Indianapolis. Yeah. What was the key to kind of transitioning the philosophy to the action on the field for 3 hours on Sunday?
I think one thing is having assistant coaches who believe the same thing, and they poured that into the team. But secondly, you talked about that message. We had 6 words on our billboard or our sign in the locker room for 13 years, 6 in Tampa and 7 in Indy. And it was just 6 words: expectations, execution, no excuses, no explanations. And I wasn't a loud guy, but I told them I had high expectations. I expect us to practice like champions. I expect us to play hard. Nobody's going to outwork us. Nobody's going to out-hit us. Nobody's going to outrun us on the field. That's my expectations. How do you do that? You can't just talk about it. You got to practice that way. You've got to meet that way. You've got to be committed. And that's what I'm going to demand every day. That's the execution. Why can't we get it done? What are the problems? What are the roadblocks? I don't want to hear any. There's no
Yeah.
excuses and no explanations. So if
Yeah.
you tell me why we can't get it done, we've got to go somewhere else. And almost everybody that's played for me, if you ask him, what do you remember about Coach Dungy? It'll be that expectations, executions, no excuses.
Yeah. Yeah. The best ones do that, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of explanations for why things don't
Yeah.
work. And the guys who ultimately succeed, they don't buy into them.
Yeah. And you just
Yeah.
say, hey, and I wanted them to think like champions. That means we've got to do everything right. We've got to be at the autograph session on time. Okay. We've got to be at every meeting and set the tone. We've got to practice hard, play one in practice or play 100 in practice. It doesn't matter. We've got to do it that same way.
Okay.
And
So when they're not doing it, when they're not sprinting through the line or running the ball or they're loafs, is there a consequence? Is it simply, hey, we're not going to play you, we're going to get rid of you? How do we uphold the standard on a day-to-day basis?
Warren Sapp said the worst thing that could ever happen to him was me coming over to him and say, "What were you thinking right now?" You weren't running hard, or you didn't do this, or you were lined up a foot off. What were you thinking? And that was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
worst than getting cussed out,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
had to now explain why you didn't do the job the right
Sure.
way. And that's what I wanted to do: establish that standard. This is who we are as Bucks. This is how we're going to be. We had our shirts tucked in every time, every moment at practice, because I said, you know what? We can't play with our shirts out. So why do we practice with our shirts out?
Yeah.
I know we don't have officials here. But no, we're going to tuck our shirts in all the time, because that's what you have to do in the
Yeah.
game. And that is a sign that we do things a little differently. We have a little bit more into the details than other teams. That's how we're going to win. And so they took it from being mad about it at first to say, yeah, other teams, nobody can keep their shirts
Exactly
tucked
right.
in. We're different. We're special. And if you come here, you've got to do that. And
Yeah. That's
so
exactly right.
that's what I would try to sell them. What's a Buccaneer? What's a
Yeah.
Colt? Not everybody can't be a
Yeah.
Colt,
That's
and
great.
sell it that way.
Yeah, it's a great message. Coach, did you have captains? Did you have a leadership group that you talked to kind of stay connected with the team? Was that part of the system?
Yes, I let the players vote on captains. I wanted to know who their leaders were. Now I tried to listen to everybody, and I had a senior group, and my door was always open. And I think over the years, people felt very good about communicating with me. But I really wanted to know who the players thought were their leaders, and then I could talk to them and get things straight.
You talked about the influence of your Pittsburgh experience. I can't help to think about the influence of your parents. Your dad was a science professor. Your mom was a Shakespeare teacher at your high school. Just talk about the impact they had on your life.
They were tremendous, Jason. And I grew up in a home that they were both athletes. They were both teachers. They loved their students. And it's funny because I can remember my dad, his philosophy was for my mom and he to help their students earn A's, not to give A's, but to
Yeah.
help their students earn A's. And he used to talk about that all the time. And I still get letters from people who had my parents in school and say, hey, your dad opened up the laboratory at night for me when I wasn't getting it. He came down and met me. Your mom did this and she went to bat for me. And it's amazing. But they were really thinking, helping their students as much as they could. Well, that translated over to me. And the other thing that translated over to me was that faith and that belief that you can do it. My dad used to say, don't let anybody define you. You decide what you want to do and you
Yeah.
carry it out. And my mom it's not what you do, it's how you do it. All of this is coming to me. And my dad used to say, don't let anybody define you. Whenever I would complain, he would say two things to me. He would say, he'd just sit there and listen, and he'd say, okay, I got it, but what are you going to do to make it better? I'm like, Dad, what about, they didn't put me in. Don't you feel bad? Well, how are you going to get them to put you in tomorrow? Are
Yeah,
you going to
yeah.
practice? What are you going to do to make it better? And then sometimes he would say, well, they might not want you to fly, so you might have to teach yourself. And I got the message, okay, don't complain, just get the job done, work harder. If you have to go the extra mile, go. My siblings and I never knew what that meant until my dad's funeral. We go to the funeral and people are talking about him and giving their remembrances. His best friend got up and said, well, yeah, one of our best memories in life was when Will Dungy went in the Tuskegee Airmen. And my brothers and sisters looked at each other, said, that's what that meant. He never talked about it, but he was
Are you
one of
kidding
those.
me?
Yeah, he never told us he was there. He told us he was in the service. That was it. But that was, hey, we're going to go in and we don't care that they say we can't be in this regiment or whatever. We're going to learn, teach ourselves how to fly, and we're going to go represent, fight the country, and be great at it. No excuses, no explanations.
That's incredible. I knew he was a Tuskegee Airman, but I didn't
We
know that you didn't know it.
we did not know until his funeral. And after that, it just made so much sense that, hey, don't take any excuses. Go get the job done.
Yeah. Go teach yourself how to fly. That's incredible. Hey, you go to the University of Minnesota in the early 70s, and Tom Moore is your coach. Tell me what that quarterback room was like.
Unbelievable. The best teacher that I've ever been around, and just amazing full circle story. I'm a 17-year-old high school senior getting recruited by a few schools. Tom Moore's the quarterback coach at Minnesota. He starts coming to my basketball games. We developed this relationship. I agreed to go visit University of Minnesota. I'm going to get on a plane. I've never flown before. And I called him and I said, Coach, I don't think I can get on. I'm scared to get on this plane. He flies to Michigan, comes to my hometown, picks me up, gets on the plane with me to go on the visit. And I end up going to Minnesota. He's my quarterback coach. We run in 1973, the same no huddle, fast paced offense that Peyton Manning ran in the 2000s. We were doing
Really?
it back then. And he's my coach, and I'm calling him Coach Moore. 30 years later, I get the job at Indy. He's the offensive coordinator. He's there already. And, everybody's asked me the question, are you keeping the Yes, I'm keeping Coach Moore. That's my
Absolutely.
coach. But now I've got to start calling him Tom. I've called him Coach Moore for 100 years. And it was different, but great man, great teacher. Just
What made him
fantastic.
what made him a great teacher?
He taught you how to do it, not just what to do, but he
Yeah.
taught you the why behind it. Here's where we go on this read. And it's 1, 2, 3, because. And if they're in this, we go to this. And you're going to have the final say as the quarterback. So you've got to know it. If you don't know, I can send in a play. It might not be the best thing for us to run. If you know what to get to, we're going to be successful. If you don't know, you're going to run the play I send in, and we might waste the play. So you need to know. I'm a 17-year-old freshman, and I wasn't thinking like that, but I began to think like that. And he did the same thing for Peyton. If you know what to do and what to get us into, we're always going to get in the best play. And then he had another Chuck Noll-ism that he used to say to us. He said it to Peyton, and Peyton loved it. Coach Noll used to say, pressure is what you feel when you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
If you know what to do, you won't feel pressure. So
Yeah.
when as a player, I took that as really, oh yeah, I don't feel any pressure. I know what to do. When I got on the coaching staff, now I better teach them what to do. If they're feeling pressure, it means I didn't teach them what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the way Tom always felt. If I teach my quarterback what to do, he's not going to feel pressure and he's going to execute.
Yeah. Well, there's so many great examples of his influence on guys putting me in that position, right? Peyton being the best one, but
Well,
you
he
know,
coached Terry Bradshaw.
yeah,
He coached Tom Brady in
yeah,
his last Super Bowl.
yeah,
Just incredible 50-year span of coaching.
that's awesome. Well, talk about an incredible coach, an incredible guy. Coach, I can't thank you enough for being on Coach to Coach. We could do this all day long. I feel like we're just getting started. So
We used to hang out there in the studio and talk ball, and it was so much fun. So Have me on again. I'd love it.
Okay, we'll absolutely do it. Follow Coach to Coach on social media and listen wherever you get your podcasts.